I'm not sure the Tories deserve power anymore. Do they even want it? After 12 years in office, is this political juggernaut the most successful party in the history of European democracy running out of steam? If the Tories do implode at the next election, it won't be down to Keir Starmer, the cervix-free leader of the opposition, who's one of the most mediocre Labour leaders in its history. No one gets excited about this man, even on his own side, because he lacks the ideological purity and zeal of Jeremy Corbyn, and he lacks the polished middle ground presentation of Tony Blair, whose political instincts were pitch perfect, hence 3 election landslide victories. But voters may reluctantly conclude in January 2025, the date of our next expected poll, that the bang average Keir Starmer, Mr. Vanilla, a man who's neither fish nor fowl, a man who can't even define a woman even though he's married to one, is at least in charge of a party that wants to govern. Starmer's great achievement since getting into the leadership role and winning that top job has been in excavating toxic figures like Jeremy Corbyn from his party and going some way to ridding Labour of the ghost of anti-Semitism. And as Labour Party conference demonstrated just 2 weeks ago, he seems to have united the party and the wider Labour grassroots around his vision, which is more interventionist, more high tax and big state than New Labour, but more fiscally conservative than Jeremy Corbyn. He's pitched his new look Labour Party somewhere between the two men. It's my view that a Starmer administration would be bad for Britain. And notwithstanding the significant lead in the polls, I'm not convinced that Labour can form an overall majority ever again. It's my view that Starmer still lacks the X factor and cuts a figure as the leader of not just the Labour Party, but of the North London liberal elite. Many won't forget Starmer's attempts to reverse Brexit, his support for Corbyn, or his relentless woke virtue signalling. But I do think at this rate, Labour would be the largest party in a hung parliament, meaning that whilst he's ruled out a coalition with Nicola Sturgeon, don't be fooled. He will rely on the votes of SNP MPs, as well as a few hard-left Corbynite MPs on his own backbenches, with which to govern. He will need their votes. A pragmatic arrangement so he can pass legislation and be installed in number 10 will involve a loose deal with smaller groups in Parliament, which risks potentially more extreme socialist policies, upon which the votes from the left of his party would be predicated, and it could well mean the granting of another referendum in Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon is a canny operator. She will not back Starmer in office without Indy Ref 2. And notwithstanding the threat of the breakup of the United Kingdom, another constitutional headache is headed our way thanks to this Tory civil war. There's every chance our electoral system will change drastically. It will change drastically and permanently if Starmer leads the biggest party in a hung parliament, because the support of the Lib Dems and others will come only with a commitment to proportional representation. Now, what does proportional representation mean? Well, it basically means hung parliaments forever. Political impotence, indecision, and parliamentary gridlock as standard. Welcome to hell. Do those Tories plotting against Liz Truss not realise that it is they who are risking all of this? With their pathetic political party games, they are undermining our new Prime Minister and making it impossible for her to govern. It was actually Tory MPs, not Labour, who ultimately put the kibosh on the cut to the top rate of income tax, a policy which would have cost either £2 billion a year or nothing, depending on which economist you speak to, and which would potentially attract talent from around the world and reward high achievers here so that they live in Britain, spend their money in Britain and pay their taxes in Britain. Something to which this self-flagellating new-look tax and spend Tory party seem opposed. At every turn, Truss has been thwarted. Her own cabinet minister, Penny Mordaunt, making policy up on the hoof last week, condemning the idea of benefits rising in line with average earnings rather than inflation. Liz Truss was considering pegging back this expensive 10% upgrade to benefits on the basis that those in work should not get a smaller pay rise than those being supported by the state. The idea that it should pay to work is, again, another Conservative principle championed by Liz Truss that appears to have bitten the dust. Well, if they carry on like this, they will be eating Labour's dust. There's even talk of her own party blocking a trade deal with India, one of the biggest economies in the world and a potential market of 1 billion people. A sticking point appears to be accepting a large number of Indian visas. Truss has taken a view that, yes, she wants to end the illegal channel crossings, which are a humanitarian, economic and national security disaster, but that the right migration into the country on our terms is necessary to fill the skills gap, to tool up the workforce, to help businesses and to boost the economy. Wasn't that the point of Brexit? Not that we would stop immigration altogether, but that we would welcome people to this country who can make a contribution, who have the skills we need and who can help us in the race for growth. Some of her backbenchers look set to oppose fracking in their constituencies and block the urgent house building programme on brown and green belt that we clearly need. Soon there'll be nothing left of the blueprint that got Liz Truss elected by the membership of the party in the first place. At this rate, our new PM will be browbeaten and bullied by a parliamentary party who never liked her in the first place. Liz Truss has a radical vision. She has bold ideas, and I believe they can work. But she's not able to execute them, thanks to the political soap opera that's playing out behind her on the green benches, led by Rishi Sunak supporters, including Michael Gove, who refuse to accept defeat and bury the hatchet. Look, she's not perfect, but it's my view that Liz Truss deserves a chance, a fair crack of the whip. But at this rate, the Tory party, at war with their own leader, will be buried at the next election. And it's not clear they will ever rise from the dead.